What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. So what we got here is WWE wrestlers who proved everybody wrong. Now, I got a couple of wrestlers I'm thinking of right now, but I don't want to ruin this for WrestleMania. I'll let them do their thing. But before we get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this.
10 WWE wrestlers who proved everyone wrong. Number 10, John Cena. At WrestleMania 31, John Cena became US champion. On the surface, this was a bizarre booking move, as Cena was still very much WWE's top star, so some fans felt like this was a step down for Cena to now be a mid-card champion. On the Raw following WrestleMania 31, Cena introduced the world to the John Cena US Title Open Challenge. This would see Cena defend the title virtually every week against names up and down the card. For the 10 years before the US title reign, Cena was heavily bashed for his in-ring work, and this Open Challenge series was Cena's chance to prove to everyone that he was indeed a fantastic worker, as he could have bangers on a weekly basis. Cena proved every single doubter wrong as Cena embarked on the most widely acclaimed in-ring run of his career. Cena turned into a completely different wrestler during this time, and his matches with the likes of Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and even Wade Barrett were examples of Cena showing the world that he was a fantastic in-ring performer. Number 9, Christian.
Hey, really quick, just back to John Cena. I was one of those fans who was like, why is he going after the US title? Why did he win this? This is a huge downgrade for one of your biggest stars. But like they said, as we saw the US Open Challenge, it was one of the most entertaining things I've seen anyone do with the US title, in fact, with mostly any title. And so many people, even up to this day, try to emulate what he did with the US Open Challenge. As recent as like Seth Rollins, he tried to do that with the World Heavyweight Championship. And although it was entertaining, it wasn't as entertaining and as impactful as it was for John Cena. And I thought it was dope because you give wrestlers an opportunity to go after a title, people who don't really get to be on TV, while at the same time making a title more prestigious. And for me, honestly, I gotta be honest with you guys, I wasn't a huge fan of John Cena when he first entered WWE. I wasn't a fan of the Doctor of Thugonomics because I was biased. I was like, hey, if they're not Stone Cold or like The Rock, if they're not on their level on the mic or as a character, I don't want to see him. John Cena came out. I felt like that he was like WWE's version of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Like he was just like some corny rapper. But then when I went back and watched and seen what he contributed to WWE as a whole, even in his inception, I respect him a whole lot more. And this guy definitely is that dude, man.
When Christian parted ways with WWE in 2005, he wanted to show WWE that he had what it took to be a top star in pro wrestling. Christian, shortly after his departure, signed with TNA, and what followed was phenomenal work, as Christian was instantly pushed into the main event scene and he delivered in every aspect of what was required out of a main event talent. Christian would become world champion, and this was long overdue, yet it was wonderful to see him get his flowers. Upon returning to WWE in 2009, they still needed convincing that Christian
Really quick, guys, I still don't understand why ECW did that with that title. That is horrendous, bro. Terrible, man. Terrible.
was a main event level performer. When he finally got this chance in 2011, Christian had a chip on his shoulder, and his world title main event feud with Randy Orton was widely acclaimed, and Orton himself classes it as one of the standout feuds of his entire career. Whilst Christian didn't win another world title outside the 2 runs in 2011, he was often placed in the main event scene, and Christian had numerous world title matches before his initial WWE retirement in 2014. Number 8, Mark Henry. For the first few years of Mark Henry's WWE run, he couldn't just put it together in the ring. Henry went between various different characters, and despite WWE pushing him numerous times up the card, each time Henry failed to catch fire, and the fans rejected him as a top star. In 2011, Henry once again turned heel, and he was set for yet another push into the main event picture. Upon this initial turn, fans were critical, which was justified as WWE and Henry had been in this position so many times with the same result. Henry managed to find the gimmick that suited him perfectly. The Hall of Pain gimmick was outstanding, and Henry went into the gimmick and the push with the mindset of proving everyone wrong and showing that he belonged. Henry's work was so good that he was even given a world title run, and to everyone's surprise, this reign was one of the more entertaining and unique reigns of the past 2 decades. Henry's Hall of Pain run established Henry as a legitimate main eventer, and although his main event and world title run was brief, it ultimately defined Henry's legacy as a talent in WWE. Number 7.
Although I do love his Hall of Pain gimmick, I loved everything he contributed, I had to say this. I can never forgive him for that pump fake retirement that he did, because of him and because of Michael Jordan. When anyone says they're going to retire, I don't believe them. I just can't. I'm messed up, okay, because of what they did to me.
The Big Show. WWE have had a love-hate relationship with The Big Show throughout the years. Within his first year in the company, Big Show won the WWE title, yet they took exception with his in-ring work and his physique, and by 2000, Big Show was sent to OVW for further conditioning. When Big Show returned, they couldn't just commit to booking Big Show in the main event. He would spend time in the hardcore division, and he would also miss WrestleMania 18. By the end of 2002, Big Show was put in a sink or swim situation. He was given the WWE title by defeating Brock Lesnar of all people, and Big Show slowly turned things around. He worked endlessly to get better in the ring, and his promo work was also vastly improved. Big Show became a constant in WWE over the next few years, and after an extended break, he would return in 2008 to embark on his most successful run to date. Big Show proved to the fans, and more importantly WWE themselves, that he was serious about being a big deal in pro wrestling, and his story is one of triumph and resilience. Number 6. LA Knight. It was decided by Vince McMahon that the best role for LA Knight on the main roster would be a managerial role. The role would completely destroy the LA Knight character, as he would now be known as Max Dupree. The gimmick was atrocious, and the fans clamored for WWE to change their minds and revert him back to the LA Knight persona everyone knew and loved. Thankfully, WWE did, and LA managed to get incredibly over and connect with the main roster crowds. LA became one of the most popular stars in wrestling in 2023, and he managed to convince WWE that he was someone they needed to invest their time and effort into. LA would even main event Crown Jewel in 2023 in a world title match against Roman Reigns, which was some achievement, seeing as the year before, he was literally a manager of a lower card comedic tag team. Number 5, Cody Rhodes.
Here's the thing though, as they said, with him being part of Maximum Male Models, that was a terrible idea. I mean, if you watched him in TNA, people who do, we know he's capable of before they turned him into that. We know he's capable of. But here's the thing, although as a fan of LA Knight, I was happy that he had that title match against Roman Reigns, but we all knew that there was no way he was winning this match. And it ultimately just felt like WWE was so annoyed with all the fans in WWE of LA Knight, of people overseas saying yeah at wrestling events, that they were like, you know what, I'm getting sick and tired of this. Here, have this title match, get out of my face. And I still to this day felt like that's what they did with that match. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that they're pushing him now as opposed to what they were doing to him last year. So I'm a happy LA Knight fan, man. I'm not too mad about it right now.
In 2016, Cody Rhodes officially had enough. He knew he had reached his ceiling in WWE, and the company wasn't going to give him a chance to prove he was a star. Man. Rhodes departed the company, and he even went on an absolute tear on the independent scene before helping create AEW, which became a legitimate alternative product for fans in an era in which WWE was seemingly dominating. Rhodes had become a certified draw, but also he became one of the most influential and important figures in modern-day wrestling. Eventually, in 2022, Rhodes decided it was now time to come home. After showing everyone what he was made of, Rhodes returned to WWE, and they instantly acknowledged his success outside the WWE bubble, and Rhodes was quite rightly pushed as a main eventer. All demographics seemed to gravitate towards Rhodes, particularly after his return from injury in 2023, and the fans firmly decided that Rhodes was their guy. Subsequently, WWE decided that Rhodes was the perfect choice to end Roman Reigns' historic run as WWE Champion, and as a result, the artist formerly known as Stardust closed out WrestleMania 40 as champion. Number 4.
See, the thing is with Cody Rhodes, and I'm sorry for stopping it again, is that he's always been a talented wrestler, and he's gotten better over the year. But unfortunately, tribalism, since he was with AEW, a lot of people didn't get to see it, or didn't get to see him in the independent scene, and didn't want to acknowledge how great he was until he came to the promotion that they like, which is WWE, which is very unfortunate that people think that way. But, he's a testament of why I say when wrestlers get released from WWE, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's a way that they can go out there and improve and showcase what they're worth. We see people like him doing it. Drew McIntyre did it. We see what Matt Cardona's doing right now in the independent scene. Mustafa Ali's doing in the independent scene. Nick Nemeth, we see what he's doing, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. It's so many options out there for them to prove themselves and increase their value, and then come back to WWE and get paid more than they got paid before. So, but anyways, I'm going off topic.
Mysterio. When Dominik Mysterio made his official in-ring debut in 2020, he was still very much green in terms of his in-ring work. His character work was definitely lacking. In 2022, in a much-needed move, Mysterio turned heel on his own father, the legendary Rey Mysterio.
Amazing
What followed
choice.
was one of the greatest character changes in WWE history. Virtually overnight, Dirty Dom became one of the most detestable heels in pro wrestling, and he seemed to find his groove almost immediately as a bad guy. Mysterio would join the Judgment Day, and his on-air partnership with Rhea Ripley has been stupendous, as they both have a riveting chemistry. They both enhanced each other's characters. Number 3, AJ Styles. Notable concern when AJ Styles signed with WWE in 2016. Whilst AJ's body of work was widely celebrated around the world, there was the apprehension surrounding if AJ in WWE would actually work. Would WWE allow AJ to shine, and would he be able to grasp the WWE style and impress Vince McMahon? Thankfully, AJ didn't just grasp the WWE style almost instantly, he also rather quickly became one of Vince McMahon's favorite stars. AJ proved to the critics that he was going to be a significant player for the company, and in his first year in the company, he would have a WWE title reign and even defeat John Cena clean. AJ is now established as one of the biggest names WWE have under contract, and he now has more matches in WWE than he had in TNA. His work since 2016 has solidified his status as a future Hall of Famer, and it's an utter joy to see how AJ still performs at a top level over 2 decades after his first burst onto the scene in WCW. Number 2, Roman Reigns. It's well documented just how disastrous Roman Reigns' babyface run was. WWE placed Reigns in an elite position that he was nowhere near ready for, and most of his top matches during his babyface run were often met with negative chants and overwhelmingly scathing reviews. By late 2019, early 2020, the fans insisted that WWE needed to change direction with Reigns, and this feeling was also felt by Reigns, who according to Paul Heyman had a less than positive stance on his presentation and booking. When Reigns returned from a hiatus in the summer of 2020, he returned as a heel, and this wasn't the Reigns that came before. This was Reigns being totally himself, just turned up 1000. It was genius. Reigns went from this disingenuous, forced character to one of the most legitimate, interesting, and compelling characters in all of pro wrestling. His work between 2020 to 2024 was evidence that he had what it takes to be a face of the company, and all it took was WWE actually listening to the fans and allowing Reigns to shine. And number 1.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think, as far as proving people wrong, I think a lot of people, it wasn't that people hated Roman Reigns. There were some people. There's always going to be a small percentage of people who have certain ideas that aren't popular. But most people were just saying that he's not a great babyface. In fact, like they said, the fans were wanting him to be a heel, which is when they actually did that and they actually listened to the fans, it was one of the greatest decisions they made for his career and for WWE as a whole. Because if they never turned him heel, they will never get the Bloodline storyline. We would have never got what happened at WrestleMania 40. All of that stuff happened after the fact of WWE choosing to listen to the fans. Sometimes the fans aren't always right. They're not. But when it comes to, look at LA Knight, we're talking about Roman Reigns as a heel, thinking about the beginning of the Yes movement with if by listening to the fans, you get so much success. Now they do have to filter what they want to hear from the fans, because sometimes even myself will say some stuff that do not make any sense. It will not work. Sometimes that's the reason why they pay their creative staff. But in a lot of cases, fans are typically right about these things. But I think Roman Reigns should have been number 1 on this list. But that's just me. Logan Paul is number 1. Okay.
Logan Paul. Logan Paul decided to compete in WWE was instantly met with backlash. Paul was a social media star and a YouTuber, and fans collectively wondered what on earth he could do to add to WWE. When he eventually wrestled, it was apparent that he was incredibly athletic and had natural in-ring ability. The more he wrestled, the better he came, and this was in all areas of pro wrestling, including his promos and his selling, which continues to be tremendous. Paul won over fans not just by his in-ring work, he also won the fans over thanks to his genuine love for WWE. In interviews, he often speaks at length about how much he respects the WWE talent, and he constantly talks about how insanely hard being a pro wrestler is. Paul has had a unique appreciation for the art of wrestling, and when he became US champion in 2023, fans welcomed the booking move, as he managed to successfully prove himself as somebody that's incredibly serious about making his WWE run a success. There you have it, folks.
See, the thing is with Logan Paul, I don't think people really doubted him as a wrestler. I think because they knew who he was previously and some things he did in the past, or currently at the time when he was wrestling, a lot of people didn't really like him. They didn't like him or his brother. Either one of the Paul brothers. So they were just like, we don't like him, and he only got this opportunity because he's privileged, because he got a lot of money, and because of his popularity. It has nothing to do with his in-ring skills. He's taking the opportunity from people who actually do wrestling for a living, and they came from that perspective. I don't think anyone really thought about whether he was good or not, because no one really knew. And I think Bad Bunny showed us that you don't have to be an actual wrestler to have a great performance in the ring. But man, he surprised everybody. Logan Paul hasn't had a bad match yet. He's had banger after banger after banger. He's really good. Like, he really surprised me. I thought he would just be okay, but I didn't think he was going to be this great and this natural in the ring. So I mean, that pretty much covers most of the people I thought about when it comes to WWE wrestlers who prove people wrong. If they left someone off the list, let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me and for supporting my channel. Salute, peace, have an amazing day.